So we've got the Lost Vape Q Ultra. Yep, it's that guy. Another vapey video for you. Lost Vape Q Ultra with the RBA deck. It looks like it's part of the Orion family. I would have thought it was part of the Orion family. I did initially, but nowhere on the box does it say anything about the Orion. Nowhere in the instruction manual here that you can see me looking through does it say anything about the Orion. So it's just the Lost Vape Q Ultra apparently. Internal battery size, I wanted to say it was like 1600 milliamp hours. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it was. Takes pods of replaceable coils, so it's an all-in-one rather than a pod device. Really enjoyed using it, and got myself the RBA deck. Didn't have much luck with it the first time over, so I'm gonna give it a build now in this little video and show you how I get on. The device itself is a little bit bigger than the OG Orions. I know it's not part of the Orion family, but I mean, look at it. That obviously I'm going to compare it to the Orions. 0 to 40 watts. That isn't material or fabric. That's actually like a rubberized finish on that panel there. Big battery venting, or lots of battery venting rather. Some of the OG Orions had a swelling problem with the batteries being so enclosed, so that venting there now prevents that. As with all-in-ones and pods, you're going to get a little bit of leakage underneath the coil. There's nothing too much to be worried about. That little bit I was playing with there is how you refill it, and that bit I was spinning just there is the airflow control. But just as on the Orions, the airflow control changes very little. You can take the drip tip off on these, and I broke mine, and what you saw me do there just a moment ago was actually take the whole top piece off, which shouldn't come off, but it goes back in place. So this is the OG Orion. I think it's a DNA Go one, just for a quick size comparison. As you can see, you could just tell it's smaller upon sight. You don't really need to put them side by side by this, but just for the purpose of the video, there you go. The build quality of the Q Ultra is nice, but the OG Orion does feel better. I do have a Orion Quest knocking about, but I didn't bother pull that one out. So this is the RBA section. This is what you get with it. I have already had a play with this, as I said earlier. Didn't have much luck with it, to be honest. So this time I'm going to take my time with it and give it my all, you could say. And if it didn't work out, then I knew I would just never use it again. But I can tell you now, it did work out, and I'm enjoying using it, to be honest with you. So you get extra grub knots, extra seals, O-rings, all of that jazz. Extra coils. And cotton as well. You get 3 coils and cotton, which is always good. This is a close-up of the actual RBA section. Those 2 slots on the bottom at the sides. On the bottom are your airflow holes. Simple 2-post deck. As you can see, the cotton looks quite dry, and I was using it. Oh, that's the 510 adapter. So you can screw it onto the bottom of that and then screw it onto any mod, or at a stand, as I'm doing now. So I'm going to take the cotton out, take the coil out, and show you the deck a bit more. It's just a simple 2-post single coil deck with what looks like quite a large airflow hole for the coil to sit over. Tiny little grubs, so unfortunately they do round quite easily, or they will round quite easily. As you can see, I've sort of partly round that already. It's got stuck. So let's apply a bit of force to get it loose. So as you can see, that's the deck. It's not very clear with the GoPro. It's not really made for close-ups, so sorry about that. But as you can see, the airflow hole on the bottom of the deck is quite big, which is why I went for a Clapton coil in there initially, which did not work at all. But now I'm just going to use one of the supplied coils. Stop faffing around, do it as they say. Hopefully should work, right? just getting it in place. I'm being pretty anal with it this time, to be fair. It needs to be sort of as bang on as I can make it, just so I can know really and truly if this bit of kit is worth it. I'm just holding it in place as I tighten it down. Make sure it doesn't like sort of spring out of place as it the coil's legs sometimes can. Tighten it down as carefully as I can because I don't want to round them off, those grubs. 2.5mm inner diameter or 2.5mm outer diameter rod going in there just to straighten up the coil. Get snippy with it, get rid of those legs. So that's like 1.9 volts or something like that, 1.19 volts. I don't know, it was around 6 watts if I remember correctly. Just give it the old glow. Slightly spaced wraps, so shouldn't have been any issue with it, and it's glowing from the middle of the coil nicely. Of course, got the cotton gods because that's all I use in everything. If the cotton gods isn't very good in that device, then I just don't use that device. This is the tricky bit with it. The whole wicking situation is the more difficult bit with this RBA section. It's small, which means you're working with tiny bits of cotton usually, which is the case with this, I can tell you. And with it being so small, it's just fiddly. So just a little speed up of me combing out the cotton. Try to comb from the coil outwards and only in that direction to keep all the fibers as intact as possible. So I'm just trying to highlight here where you'll need to have the cotton resting in that little recess there where it sort of cuts into the deck. But I don't want the end of the cotton to actually be touching the floor of that recess, if that makes sense. I want it to be lifted from the floor ever so slightly, and because we're talking about such a small RBA section, we're talking about like fractions of a millimeter in length to get it spot on as I want. So to make it easier for myself, what I'm actually doing here is not fully, but slightly priming the cotton, just so it's easier to work with. It doesn't fray out as much once it's been dampened by some e-juice. So that was fugly juice. I want to say it was the Schools Out flavour. Really have been enjoying the samples that Brett from Triumph Vape sent me. So big up Brett every time. Big up fugly juice. You're going to watch me now for a few minutes, unfortunately, just keep teasing the cotton. Now it's been dampened by the e-liquid, just trying to tease it into that recess. I don't want to compress the cotton so much that, imagine if it's got e-liquid in it, you squeeze it, the e-liquid's going to come out. I don't want any e-liquid to be coming out as I'm teasing that cotton into place, because I don't want the fibres to compress together, because they may stick together and making it not as absorbent. I know what I mean. It might seem a little bit overkill to you to care that much, but I need to make sure I do the utmost best with this RBA section, just to make sure that I wasn't having any luck with it before because of myself rather than because it's a piece of crap. So I'm working on the other side now. I've got the first side done, it seems. So I'm cutting the second side down as much as I can. If you're never too sure, it's always best to leave on more, because you can always take away, but you can never add. The exact opposite of cooking, I suppose. You don't need to suppose it is the exact opposite, but I digress. Always want to make sure you get the first side that you're working with. You want to always make sure that's kept in place. I'm going to apologize now for the off-camera stuff that happens on this video. Still quite new to filming these things, and this one kind of frustrated me. Had to put some real effort into it for what it is, at least. So sometimes I forget to keep it on camera. I've dampened down this side again just to make it a little bit easier to work with. I'm just snipping away now, trying to get it down to length. Again, just putting it in place with the screwdriver there, or whatever pokey tool you're using, and then just using my thumb to rest over it to keep it in place while I'm messing with another part of the wicking. Cut a slither off the top side of the cotton. Never being too aggressive with it. It is a tedious one, I'm not gonna lie. It is a tedious one. It is one that I would only really recommend to either really OG builders. Back in the round wire was the standard days. Or people that just have the time to take the time with it. Not to anybody new to building or new to vaping at all. Again, I am being a little bit overkill with it. It really probably doesn't need to be this on point, but I like to wick in a certain way on most, if not all, rebuildable devices. And that's the way I'm going to do it on this. And if it doesn't work with this, then I know it's just not for me. I could have sped this whole section up, true, but then it wouldn't be a true reflection of how fiddly this really is. So I've got the cotton in place, and that's a quick slow-mo close-up of it, as best as I could get with the camera I'm using at least. Trying to get the chimney or top cap or whatever you want to call that back on, the barrel of the RBA section back on, but catching the threads was not easy. And I am a little bit upset about that. I mean, I know that Lost Vape is, or isn't really, what it used to be in terms of build quality of its devices. I think the original Orion and maybe the Paranormal 250C sort of changed that. Then again, I haven't tried any of the newer devices other than this. But yeah, those threadings were a bit much for me to find high quality, if you know what I mean. Boom, we've got vapors, we've got no shorts. So vapor is away. Get him off the 510 adapter. Good thing about these pods is they're quite large, so if you've not got, a full tank, if you've got half a tank, half a pod of juice left, you can take the coil out and pop a new one in without it spilling out the hole, because it's all gathered at the other end of the tank or pod or whatever you want to call it. Oh, quick tip, you need to pull down the switch to put it back in place and release it, the pod that is. But I'm all done. I've let it soak in for a couple of minutes, and I'm having a few toots, and I'm remembering that, zoom or focus on the GoPro is not the best, so I'm trying to show you the wattage to no success at all. But there's your cloud production from it. The flavor is good, the draw is good. I am still using it. I would recommend anybody that has the time to build the RBA section to get one with the RBA section. Or if you want a small device with quite a decent battery capacity with replaceable stock coils, then get this as well. There's a 0.3, a 0.6 and a 1 ohm coil. Haven't tried the 1 ohm coil. The 0.3 coil was okay, but the 0.6 was really, really nice. And it's probably what I will be using most of with this device, simply because it's a lot easier to build, to put in place rather than build. But yeah, peace. Thank you.